Charles County has operated in a Board of Commissioners form of government, a part-time, 5-member body that has to do day-to-day government management and legislation at the same time. And it works well, as all counties in the state of Maryland started this way, as counties were rural. They were agricultural based, and farmers could afford to serve on this governing body in a part-time basis while their farms still work for them. Commissioner forms of government work really well under those circumstances. We're a lot more complicated than that now, right? And over time, the 23 Maryland counties, 6 to 9 of them moved to code home rule, which Charles County is now, still maintains that part-time board, right? They try to do everything all at once, manage day-to-day government and enact legislation on your behalf. 11 counties decided, since Montgomery County in 1948, that they wanted to do something a bit different to write a government structure that serves their residents' needs, and they moved to charter government, which allowed them, most of them, to appoint an executive full-time day-to-day manager that can do all of the service delivery for citizens, but have a separate council that can handle legislation. And I heard some questions about, have the commissioners considered legislation to deal with some of the homeowner issues? And I heard an answer that was, and forgive me for saying some of the things I might say today, Commissioner, that not yet, we're looking into it, because this board has to try to do everything. They're jack of all trades, right? They're trying to deal with the day-to-day government, and they're trying to figure out how to pass laws to help you all. This charter effort is about creating a better system so you can have a council that can actually focus on legislation, and you can have an executive that can actually work on service delivery.
They're going to present a product, this, and say, here's the charter, right? They're going to send it to the commissioners. The commissioner will say, oh yeah, it looks good. This is what's going on to the ballot.
I do think the thing that we're finding as we are out in the community talking to our friends and our neighbors and our families is that there's so much misunderstanding because there's a lot of misinformation. First of all, we all need to understand there is no charter yet. There is not a written document. We have been working diligently in subcommittees. We come together twice a month and discuss the information that the subcommittees have brought, but we have not written a charter. So anything that you hear about the charter is one that that person has heard something about or imagined, because there is not a charter for you to look at and make a judgment or an opinion of.
You know, when our country was founded, we had a charter, right? We have 29 amendments in the Constitution, correct? How many did we have on the day one? We had 10, right? We had the basic foundation for what we're going to go through forward. You know, we didn't have, the 13th, 14th, 15th. We didn't have women's rights. We didn't have all those wonderful amendments that came later. We had a foundation. And so this charter is really just going to provide a foundation. If 10 years from now, we want to have something where we go to a police department and we put that for people, that's great. If 10 years from now we say, man, this charter thing is crap, let's get rid of it, we can do that too.
So we're asking you, do you want your government, you want your elected officials full-time or part-time? Do you think your current commissioners don't have term limits? They can serve an unlimited amount of terms. Do you think your elected leaders should serve 2 terms, 3 terms, or continue to be unlimited and be career politicians? And again, forgive me for some of the things I'm going to say. Do you think that the county needs a separate police force to complement what the sheriff's office does and divide law enforcement responsibilities? Some charter counties have a police chief and a sheriff. Howard County, Montgomery County, Anne Arundel. Every single charter county since 1972, Harford, Cecil, Frederick, Talbot, Dorchester, they all decided to keep law enforcement with the elected sheriff. There will always be an elected sheriff in the state of Maryland. It's required by the Constitution. These are the kind of choices and these are the kind of pain points we've heard, particularly in Waldorf. I'm from Waldorf. PGM, are they too big? Do they focus on too many things? They do permitting, they do planning, they do stormwater management. Some counties, such as Montgomery County, have a separate permitting office. We've heard from, commercial property managers here in Charles County that businesses that want to come into Charles County, retail establishments, work centers, industry, have a hard time navigating the commissioners and PGM because there's so much conflict on the board and there's not a clear understanding of what the rules are. We've had companies trying to start small businesses here that say they feel that permitting rules get changed for one applicant versus another, right? If you have an executive that has direct oversight over department heads, they have to be responsive, right? Or voters vote them out. Right now, you have 5 people in charge of PGM in all county departments. Every election, I'm from here, every election, they point fingers at each other and say someone else did it. There's no one, or did not. So there's no one for a voter to actually say, you were responsible for that decision, I'm gonna hold you accountable for it, right? So that's what we're looking for from you all is, how do we set up guardrails? How do we set up limits on terms? How do we hold our department heads accountable? And ultimately those elected officials accountable that appoint them. And we're looking across the state. So we've asked, we've asked Jan Gardner, the first county executive for Frederick County. They were the most recent charter county. She was a commissioner and then she was executive. We asked her. We had Harford County come down. We're basically surveying what's working well and what's not working well across the state and trying to figure out what's the best possible document for Charles County. But we're trying to come out to events like this with you to see if there's things that we can put into the charter to make sure that government's serving you better.
You've seen the meetings. You know exactly where this fell 3-2, and that there are people in the government that don't want to abide by what the board has to say. And they've made it a point to have their agendas be the agenda for everybody, and that this shouldn't even come to a vote. You shouldn't have the opportunity to have a charter, to even vote on a charter or have a voice in the charter, and that everything is rosy as it is, and that's just not true. And to have the people have a voice in the form of government seems antithetical to democracy, to not allow that. And so I appreciate my colleagues' opinions, but I don't agree with them. And so that's why I'm here tonight.
With some executive leadership is able to compete for more transportation dollars, be able to compete for federal work centers like you have that's happening around the census area. And there's a metro there, so that's important. But what has happened here in Charles is we've been competing or asking for a long time for transit dollars. And it could be rapid bus, it could be fixed rail, it could be any of those things. But there's so much discord from year to year amongst 5 people who have to go to Annapolis to ask for this. We've heard executives come to us and say, when you have one unifying voice that can lobby on behalf of the county, you're able to get more dollars. And I think we probably would have seen more action or traction on trying to deal with these bigger issues. Never mind the retail issues. They matter to communities to have what's about to come right here on Billingsley and St. Charles Parkway. That might be good for you. Some of you might be upset about the traffic from it. But as far as work centers, as far as competing for federal agencies, when there was a big push a few years ago to get out of DC because price per square foot is much cheaper out here and the workers out here, if you have an executive that can lobby for that, those executive counties are doing better compared to the commissioner counties.
I couldn't have advertised this as a charter meeting because county government wouldn't allow me to be perfectly honest. I had to have planning growth management, who did a fantastic job, but then I also had to incorporate charter into this, because if I put this out there as a charter meeting or somehow said, you know what, I want to inform the public or educate the public, I would receive a tremendous amount of pushback. There's a reason why this event wasn't published on the ad. So I understand you can't make a decision now because it's an idea. And until that idea is formed, then we can't really make an informed decision on that. And I'm glad to see that, you know, our meetings are going to be televised and everyone's going to have multiple chances to at least come to the fore, because I know for me, I'm going to have more of these at least every month. And so I don't know what my colleagues are going to do, but I know what I'm going to do. And so for me, it is about education. It is about informing. It is about making sure that people go into the ballot box with a clear understanding of either I'm for it or I'm against it. but I know why I'm for it and I know why I'm against it. And so that's incumbent upon the charter board, also incumbent upon this commissioner to make sure that we have as much information and that you feel involved and that you feel included, so that way it's not us pushing charter on you, it's you saying, you know what, this is best for my family, this is best for my community, this is best for my county. And so that's really what we buy in. And so these are just informational, nothing is written in stone. And that's what I want everybody to know, it's not written in stone.